What were the effects of the reduction in sulfur content of shipping fuels? Did they lead to an increase in global temperatures? Hello friends, Jim here. Well, according to a new study recently released, a 2020 shipping emissions mandate, i.e. a reduction, did lead to a 2023 spike in global temperatures. Earth System Model Simulations, and by the way, you will often see this abbreviated as ESM. Earth System Model Simulations have proven the impact of the sudden drop in sulfate shipping emissions on global temperatures. The summer of 2023 saw a surprising increase in global temperatures, even within the context of the ongoing greenhouse gas-driven warming trend. This surprised scientists as their simulations did not indicate that this would be the case. Climate scientists were essentially saying this is essentially impossible, that it's bonkers to see such a jump all at once, said Daniele Visioni, who is an assistant professor in the Department of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences. People are saying climate change is suddenly accelerating. We've never seen anything like this. Well, if you keep insisting on going by IPCC, that everything is increasing linearly, well, I guess one would be surprised when you see an acceleration. For those who look at the data and model accordingly to the data, such as the climber model that the PIK folks utilize, this would not be a surprise because they see the nonlinear increases, the nonlinear responses to all the forcings that is happening. Visioni's paper, Modeling 2020 Regulatory Changes in International Shipping Emissions, helps explain anomalous 2023 warming that was published at the end of November of last year in Earth System Dynamics explores this. And I will do an analysis of this paper that will be a bonus for my supporters on Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, and my YouTube community. So that will be something exclusive for those folks, my paying supporters. Mandated reductions in sulfate emissions from international shipping routes in 2020 are partly responsible for the record high temperatures, the researchers found. Reducing the amount of aerosol particles in the atmosphere reduces cloud coverage, thus clouds' ability to reflect solar radiation back to space is diminished. The paper's findings suggest future policy decisions around abrupt reductions in tropospheric aerosols should take into account the surface temperature's impact. Past research indicated that such change would lead to a minor increase in the global temperature due to a reduction in cloud formation. But Visioni and co-author Ilaria Quaglia, but Visioni and co-author Ilaria Quaglia, postdoctoral researcher in the Sibley School of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering, Cornell Engineering, used the ESM simulations to prove the significance of the sudden drop in sulfate shipping emissions. These changes in the shipping industry had been discussed for years with the International Maritime Organization, IMO, making a decision in 2014 to begin enforcing stricter sulfate emissions by 2020. Fuels with lower sulfur are much more expensive, so it took some time for the industry to adjust. The regulation required ships to use fuel with a sulfur content of no more than 0.5%, down from the previous limit of 3.5%. This reduction led to a more than 80% decrease in total sulfur oxide emissions from shipping. And while there was some talk of this trade-off within the shipping industry, there was little attempt to call widespread attention to the potential effect. There was no attempt to say we should have all eyes on the shipping corridor. In hindsight, it would have been great to study that 4 years ago before the problem manifested itself. The Cornell researchers looked at monthly global temperature anomalies over the period of 2020 to 2023, removing the assumed linear contribution from greenhouse gases and seasonality in order to determine the shipping industry's impact on temperature anomalies. They found that removing sulfur dioxide from shipping fuel likely increased the planet's temperature by 0.08 degrees Celsius. Well, assuming linear contribution might be an error right there. Just saying. The unprecedented heat became a normal warm year once you accounted for that. Quantifying how much these polluting aerosols reflect heat back into space to make a noticeable increase in the Earth's temperature is not, Visione said, a suggestion that these pollution-cutting efforts should be curtailed. Air quality improvement is immediate, and everyone is always going to go for that. A lesson here is that we make decisions about trade-offs all the time. We are reducing air pollution more than was predicted 10 years ago, so there needs to be a lot more open discussion. It means the urgency of emission reduction is even greater. The shipping industry has, like many industries, shifted toward alternative fuels to meet the IMO's decarbonization goals, and methanol, hydrogen, ammonia, wind-assisted propulsion systems, and other technologies are gaining traction. We need to be more forceful about emissions reduction. We have to bridge a gap, but we should work to prevent warming of the planet through other means. Cloud brightening, geoengineering, climate interventions, these are not things that are going to reduce emissions. But there are things we might need to prevent further warming. Okay, here we go again with the geoengineering schemes. Cloud brightening, that's the use of aluminum particles, sulfur particles, and all that stuff. And they cause problems when they return to the ground, for example, in reducing crop yields, or if not outright killing vegetation. So, again, like everything else with geoengineering schemes, there are always unknown parameters, unanticipated interactions, and undesired results. So now the question is, were they just measuring air temperatures? And from this, it sounds like that's what they were doing. And if you just stick into air temperatures, yes, there you will see an increase. But then, like everything else, you will see an increase with resulting from fewer clouds. But like everything else, you need to break down the different independent parameters, the independent variables, and what their contribution is in percentage form to the overall response that is observed. So, for example, if they're saying, that we're 0.08 degrees Celsius, okay, was that for the 1 year? And was this strictly due to reduction in aerosols? Did you take into account that phytoplankton released DMS and DMSP? That could offset that. Did you take into account any particulates from wildfires that were burning? Maybe that helped mask some of the signals. There's these questions that crop up. So, yes, reducing aerosols leading to fewer cloud cover could increase air temperature, but we're still burning greenhouse gases. We're still introducing them into the system, still trapping heat, and with reduced cloud cover, especially over the ocean, you're going to have increased evaporation, which adds heat to the atmosphere. Did they look into that? So, yes, it's nice to have, cleaner air that will, lead to improved health. But you have to be careful as to attributing the 0.08 degrees increase solely to reduction in sulfur. You need to look at some of the other factors that I have just mentioned. So, there you have it. It's an interesting finding. We'll see what they find for 2024. Now, as I said, here is the link for the paper that this little report, Technology Networks Applied Sciences published, is based on. And as I said, that will be a video made exclusively available for my paying supporters on Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, and my YouTube community. So, if you're interested and you're not a supporter, please consider becoming one, and you will have access to this and several other videos that I've made exclusively available for my supporters. So until next time, thank you for your time.